what is the art of rebuking, of criticizing? How do we criticize properly? Especially as parents, we may want to correct our children very often, help them improve their ways, and we don't want to, come off as being nagging, controlling parents. So, what is the art of criticism? Many times we criticize out of being overwhelmed, out of fear of personal fears that how our kids are going to turn out or how circumstances can change or affect them. So it's very important to understand what is our take on criticism. How have we been criticized in the past? And usually the way we criticize our children or the way we respond to others, this really goes to everyone, not just children, but we're going to focus our examples on our children. Just the way we would like to be approached is really important. The way we were approached by our own parents growing up will affect our reactions as well. So criticizing others, we're going to learn the hows, the whats, the who, where do we say, when do we say it, and of course practical tips at the end. Okay, so criticizing others. What is the correct way to criticize other people? If we criticize others wrongly, what happens is they stray away from us. They do not want to connect to us. They do not want to have a relationship. It falls on deaf ears and we have wasted our time. So we don't want to damage our relationships with other people, especially our children. Okay. So the art of rebuke. What is the art of rebuke? In biblical Hebrew, the word tochacha is loosely translated as rebuke. However, the more accurate definition and translation, as Rashi teaches us, is clarification. Meaning the ultimate purpose, the real reason for rebuke, to rebuke someone, is to clarify the correct conduct to someone who is likely to listen. This is considered a great act of kindness. When you're showing someone clarity in life, when you're introspecting with them, reflecting with them, this is how you acted. And this is what you did. And be careful. And giving that clarity is incredibly important. That is a very beautiful way to rebuke someone. That is really the only way to rebuke someone, to do it out of kindness, do it because you care about them, and we're going to go into more details on how. The person who rebukes must have pure motives. He should care about the person and seek to make him feel better about himself. He should care about the person and make him feel good about himself. He should try to understand where this person is coming from. The one who rebukes needs to empathize with them. And he's concerned for his honor, for his respect, for him to continue to be treated with dignity and look dignified. He should think about how to most effectively influence him. There's a saying, you attract more bees with honey than with vinegar, right? You will be able to affect other people if you do it in a sweet way, in a kind way. And the person knows if you really care about them or you're doing it because you're so upset. But the child, of course, knows and senses the agenda of their parents. The parent is usually upset, and it's just like the tone and everything does affect the child, and it will really show us if they are willing to listen. This goes for children of all ages and stages, right? Who do we rebuke? In a practical sense, we should always keep in mind that only those people who are willing to listen to us are supposed to listen to our criticisms. In other words, if the child is not ready to listen, don't start lecturing, don't start criticizing. Even if you're rebuking properly, they have to be willing to listen. They have to be willing to listen, knowing that their parents care about them and are doing it for their own good. Our sages teach us that just as there's a commandment for a person to say the words of rebuke that will be accepted, so too there is a commandment for a person not to say words of rebuke that will not be accepted. As Rashi says in Vayikra, you shall certainly reprove your fellow. You should certainly criticize your fellow. However, we should attempt to criticize or rebuke someone only if we say that we will remain in the category of clarification, of tochacha. Okay, so we're trying to clarify to the person their actions. We're trying to show them the right way. We're trying to influence them by empathizing with them, by showing that we really care. So who are we supposed to rebuke? So now some people are highly emotional people. Some people are colder, right? Have a colder personality. The same words that can result in a good response from a calm personality can trigger anger for a hot-tempered person or from a sensitive person. You really have to be careful. Sometimes we say, oh, this is just my relative. I can say it the way I want to. You can't, because you don't know how they're going to react. Maybe they have a hot-tempered personality. Maybe they, are sensitive in certain ways. You have to be careful. So since every person is different, we must employ empathy. Everybody is different. Everybody feels good when they're empathized, when people feel for them. I know you're going through a hard time, or I know you were overwhelmed, but try next time to do this. I really saw how, you want to be able to come from a point of, I care about you and I know you're bigger than this, and here's, what I saw and how can I better help you, make better choices. Empathy is the ability to accurately sense the feelings of those around us. This can help us make positive connections with them. Okay, so how do we rebuke? What is the art of rebuke? It has to be done with discretion, meaning privacy, and tact, skill. Most people, they do not have the tact or skill to reprove. It takes practice. I heard this beautiful quote that really, inspired me. It was, you are good at what you focus on, or whatever you focus on gets strengthened. So if I focus on being more respectful, in rebuking properly when I have to rebuke whoever it is, our children, whoever it is, you will get stronger in that. Sometimes you may see people and you wonder, and you see how they interact. How are you so patient? The reason for that is because they're practicing. Whether they were patient before in the past, whether their nature is not one of patience, practice makes better. You become good at what you practice. So if we sincerely desire not to offend others while genuinely intending to help them through giving them rebuke, then Hashem will give us the right words, as it is written in Mishlei. Man arranges his thoughts in his heart, but the Almighty provides the words. So as a general rule, we should always start a rebuke with something positive, and a positive quality of the person, and then the rebuke, constructive rebuke. So you could start with something like, I know you had very good intentions, but, and you then say the softly the rebuke. And it's also best to end off with something positive as well. It's like, I know you're so good at working on yourself. I'm inspired by you, something like that. So where do we want to say the rebuke? We want to be able to say it privately when we're one-on-one with a person. And it's very challenging, especially for mothers, for parents, when they're in the heat of the moment with their kids, when one is doing the wrong things right in our faces, and we want to stop it. It's best to, calm the situation down, remove the children, to calm the whole situation down before you take the person privately and speak to them privately. And they're going to be willing to listen, so we won't waste our time. This way, public humiliation is avoided. In Bava Metzia, it says, this transgression is so severe, public humiliation is so severe that the Gemara tells us that shaming a person in public is like killing him, right? When a person is embarrassed, the blood leaves their face, they turn white as a sheet, they're so pale, they're embarrassed, right? So it's really important to preserve other people's dignity and not to embarrass. When to say the rebuke it's preferable not to give the rebuke right away, right? We want to calm the situation down. We want to set time aside when we're calm. and hopefully approach the child or the person. Why do we want to rebuke other people, to rebuke our children? Rebuke must come from pure motives. It must come from good motives. It must come from genuine feeling of concern for the person's welfare because you care about them, not because you want to blast their negative qualities in their face. So some people may mistakenly believe that it is all right to humiliate others publicly in order to criticize them so that they can change their ways. However, they are tremendously mistaken. They're fooling themselves. They have arrogance and many other negative traits. Criticizing others has to come from a place of love, of caring, of goodwill, while avoiding any trace of anger. Gentle words promote respect and strengthen relationships, goodwill, and harmony. There was a story from the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he was given an injection by a nurse. And he decided to observe how she's giving the injection and then kind of give an introspection on criticism. He said first she puts on gloves, then she wipes the area where she's going to inject it, and then she injects the area. And he noticed that first, what does she do? She puts on gloves, meaning focus on yourself, right? Focus on your own issues. Don't focus on any focus on yourself. How would you respond when the situation happens to you? Are you like this person? If you want to criticize a person, are you also like this? Look at yourself first. And then you wipe the area because you don't want other dirt coming in, meaning you don't want other criticisms coming in. You don't want to say, oh, what you did yesterday, what you did the night before, what you did 10 years ago, right? You want to wipe it. Just focus on that issue, what they did just now, what the child did just now, whether they disrespected you or hurt their sibling, whatever that they did. Focus on the situation at that moment. And guess what? Even after that the injection goes in, what happens is it still hurts. So no matter how tactfully someone criticizes another person, it will hurt. So doing it as gentle as possible definitely makes it easier. So I'm going to leave you with a practical tip. Before rebuking other people, think of their 3 positive traits or things that you're grateful for they did. And you will soften up. You will remember that they are not their action. People make mistakes. People have feelings. Feelings are. You're not a certain way. You're not always this way. You're not always that way. People make mistakes. They make a wrong choice or decision to act a certain way. But saying a positive comment before the rebuke also makes the rebuke much softer. So when you think about 3 things that the child did recently, what you're grateful for, maybe they're naturally very talented. Maybe they make you laugh. Maybe they help you when you give them responsibilities, right? So you want to focus on their positive traits. And of course, always start with a positive comment. Comment to the child, you have such a beautiful smile when you came in to the house. You had such a beautiful smile. I love how you asked me about my day. Say something positive, and then the child is most likely going to listen. I actually had a situation recently with one of my students where I felt like I picked them up from a different class. They were coming back to my classroom, and they were at each other, especially one of the students. And I was told that he was ready to really hurt the other student. And I remember when I calmed both of them down, I took them out to the hallway and I said a positive comment to each of them, especially the one who was especially angry. And I saw how he softened up, and it was an intense anger. So I really saw that for myself this week as well. And it's really important to do this not only with our students, if you're teaching, but with our children, with anyone. It's really important that first they know that you see you in positive eyes, that you're not there to throttle them, to bombard them with negative comments. It's really, really important. Nurturing relationships with our children, having good connections with them, good relationship with them, is going to make them more inclined to listen. Sarah Hannah Radcliffe teaches that To children not, under adolescence, if they're not teenagers yet, every 8 positive comments or, gestures like a smile, a hug, a compliment, a praise, something, 8 of those before you give one negative thing, like go clean up your room, like something that sounds a little bit negative, something that's correcting, it's so important. This area is so big. We don't think about it. But when they're teenagers, it's even more pronounced. It's 9-1. So every 9 comments to a teenager, then you give one sort of, a negative comment, if you even have to. So it's very important for us to also practice a strategy I learned. It's called flip it. So flip it is, how would you like to be spoken to if you did something similar, if you did this action, right? If you lied, or if you said something to someone unintentionally, well, how do you want to be spoken to? I know you don't usually speak that way, but I really heard you say X, Y, and Z. I know you're bigger than that. Like, how would you respond? That's such a beautiful way to say it. It's a compliment. It's a criticism. It's a compliment again. It's something positive. It's gently saying what you want to reprove the person about, what you want to rebuke them. So basically, flip it is about speak to someone exactly the way you want to be spoken to. You want to watch your tone, make sure it's soft. And if you're not ready to talk to them, better not to talk to them at all until you are soft. So we want to speak to others the way we want to be spoken to. Initially, we don't want to comment our children with anything negative, right? Let's say they spilled the milk. And the first thing you want to say is like, instead of take that negative criticism, oh, you're always so lazy or not careful. You want to say, things happen. People make mistakes. Things spill, right? Later on, you could have a conversation about being more careful, like when you're calmer. Or let's say the teenager is so loud, they're being disrespectful. You can approach them. You need a few minutes to yourself. You need a few minutes to calm down, and then you'll be able to approach them later on. If you're being exacting with others, if we are being exacting with others, controlling, wanting certain things from our kids, especially as mothers, we want a schedule, we want organization, we feel like we're so accomplished, but really it's Hashem helping us be the best mothers possible. So if I'm going to be exacting with my kids, with other people, Hashem is going to be exacting with me. But if I'm going to be flexible and calm and be understanding and give chances, then Hashem is going to react the same way towards me, giving me opportunities, telling me, it's okay. You didn't mean not to concentrate on brachot. You didn't mean to forget benching. You didn't mean that lashon hara. You were overwhelmed. That's how you want Hashem to respond to you, but Hashem needs to see it with His children first. That is the beauty of life, and I hope these ideas were very helpful. So wrapping it up, we want criticism to be as soft as possible, saying a positive trait or a positive idea, a positive action that the person did, and then softly saying the criticism. Our tone should be soft. We want to end off softly and nicely on a positive note, and of course continue nurturing our relationships with the people, so when we criticize, it doesn't hurt as much. Appreciating the insights from the book Healing Anger by Rabbi and Dr. Ben Arosh. Leah Abramov, Being and Becoming, awakening awareness of your greatness and potential.